Chain of the days and nights, fashioner of every event. Chain of the days and nights, fountain of life and of death. Chain of the days and nights, two-colored thread of silk, woven by him that is into his being's robe. Chain of the days and nights, sigh of eternity's music, where he of all possibility sounds the height and the depth. This is how Iqbal, the poet-philosopher of Islam, interpreted the entity of time. There was a time when the dynamic message of Islam spread from the shores of the Atlantic to the borders of China. For about a millennium, Muslims were the dominant power in the old world. They freed humanity from the shackles of slavery and exploitation. They revived the Greek philosophy, opened new avenues of knowledge, and ignited the torch of learning in the utter darkness of the Middle Ages. They founded a civilization which created many splendors. The immortal message of Islam shook the mighty Himalayas, and the South Asian subcontinent saw its golden age under the Mughals. The world was aglow with the blessings of Islam. The times changed, and the Muslim power began to wane. In South Asia, two of its last defenders fell in 1757. One of them was the Nawab of Bengal, Siraj-ud-Dawla, and the other was the ruler of Mysore, Tipu Sultan, whose love for freedom has now become a legend. In 1857, Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar, a mere symbol of Mughal power, was deposed and banished to Rangoon. The great Mughal Empire came to an end. The age of enlightenment in the West had brought darkness to the East. The rising European powers subjugated and colonized the rich countries of Africa and Asia. They were growing under their tutelage. South Asia was being crushed under the white man's burden when a man was born who was to become immortal as an apostle of freedom and as a poet whose exquisite verse is a clarion call to action. In 1877, in the city of Sialkot, was born Muhammad Iqbal, the poet of the East, the awakener of his people, and the creator of the concept of Pakistan. His father, Sheikh Nur Muhammad, and mother, Imam Bibi, were pious and God-fearing. During his early education, his extraordinary talents caught the attention of a savant of Oriental learning, Shamsul Ulema Mir Hassan, who was a great friend of his father. He did his matriculation from the Scotch Mission High School and cleared his intermediate examination from the Murray College, Sialkot. Lahore, the provincial capital of Punjab, was a great educational center. Students from all over the province came to this city for higher education. Iqbal also shifted to Lahore and took lodgings in the Bazar-e-Hakima, the street of scholars. For centuries, Lahore has been a great center of Islamic culture and civilization. It was in this city that Iqbal bloomed as a poet and saw the dream of an Islamic renaissance. The superb artistry of Lahore's historical monuments bear witness to the achievements of the Islamic civilization in this part of the world. Iqbal took admission in the Government College Lahore, from where he graduated in 1897, and a couple of years later received his master's degree in philosophy from the Punjab University. In 1899, he was appointed a reader in the Oriental College, and in 1902 joined the Government College as an additional professor. Recognition came to him early as a poet of great consequence. Recital of his poems was a regular feature of the annual sessions of the Anjuman-e-Himayat-e-Islam, a socio-educational organization for the uplift of the Muslims. As advised by Sir Thomas Arnold, whose pupil he had been, Iqbal sailed for England in 1905 for higher studies. When his ship approached Aden, the sight of the Holy Land of Arabia stirred his emotions. This was the land treaded upon by the Holy Prophet, the last messenger of the Almighty, who had proclaimed the unity and sovereignty of God and gave mankind a code of life, which is a panacea for all the ills of humanity. Islam envisages a human society free from all kinds of exploitation. It gives equal rights to every man for his spiritual and material development, irrespective of caste, color, creed, or language. The sight of the Holy Land reminded Iqbal that the Muslims had shunned superstition and ignorance and extolled knowledge. They were instrumental in bringing about the Renaissance in Europe and were in fact the progenitors of all advancement made by mankind today. But they were themselves lying low in a state of intellectual stupor since the Middle Ages. Up till now, Iqbal's poetry was a reaction to external stimuli, such as nature, eroticism, nationalism, etc. Now, he was to become a judge of his environment, a creator of values, an interpreter of the humane ideals of Islam. Iqbal reached London on 24th September 1905. London at that time epitomized the achievements of the Western civilization. The lamps of knowledge blazed in its precincts. Iqbal took admission in the Trinity College, Cambridge, where he found in Professor MacTaggart a great teacher of philosophy who influenced him considerably. He was awarded a degree in philosophy from Cambridge and was called to the bar from the Lincoln's Inn. In England, he made friends with such renowned Orientalists as Professors E.G. Brown, Nicholson, and Sawley. The house in which Iqbal lived in London bears a memorial plaque. In the meantime, Iqbal went to Heidelberg, where he learned the German language and collected reference material for his thesis. His lodgings in Heidelberg bear a memorial plaque. And this is the road which has been named after him. The University of Munich awarded him a doctorate for his thesis on the development of metaphysical thought in Persia. A memorial to Iqbal adorns the city of Munich. In November 1907, Iqbal returned to London and for 6 months, in the absence of Professor Arnold, taught Arabic in the London University. During his 3-year stay in Europe, Iqbal drank deep at the fountainheads of Western philosophy and culture. He approached modern knowledge with a respectful but independent attitude. The dazzling exterior of Western civilization could not hide from him its inherent contradictions and duplicity. Steeped in gross materialism, this civilization denied all spiritual values. It preached man's equality and sucked men's blood. Iqbal was strengthened in his conviction that it was only the true spirit of Islam, fortified by modern knowledge, which could solve the problems confronting mankind. In September 1908, Iqbal returned from Europe and started legal practice in Lahore. He also got a job as part-time professor of philosophy in the government college, but soon resigned, for government service deprived him of expressing his ideas freely.
मैं दायरे लाहूती उस रिस्क से मौत अच्छी जिस रिस्क से आती हो परवाज में कोताही.
About that time, the plight of the Muslims was reaching its lowest ebb. Iqbal saw the ascending power of Western imperialism and the onslaughts it was making against the Muslim world. The Western powers were bent upon exterminating the last of the great Muslim powers, the Ottoman Empire. Italy's attack on Tripoli had enraged the Muslims everywhere. The hearts of the Muslims in South Asia were beating in unison with their brethren in the war-torn countries. Iqbal wrote extremely poignant poems. Before a large gathering in the Badshahi Mosque, Lahore, he recited a stirring poem which bears the caption, "In the presence of the Prophet." There is no quiet, Master, in that land of time and space, and that existence we pursue forever hides its face. But I have brought this chalice here to make my sacrifice. It holds a thing not to be found within all paradise. See here, O Lord, the honor of your people brimming up. The martyred blood of Tripoli, O Lord, is in this cup. The First World War brought the Muslim world to its lowest ebb. Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Transjordan all became mandatory territories of the Western powers. Egypt was throttled. The Ottoman Empire, once the greatest power on earth, had disintegrated and was vanquished. Iqbal was fully aware of the plight of Asia and clearly foresaw the dangers lurking ahead for the world of Islam. Now Asia's ancient begging cloak is torn to shreds. The young put on new glutted states, rich finery. The fires that Nimrod lit for Abraham now glare. Once more a new tyrant frowns, a new ordeal prepares. As if it was not enough, a new problem raised its ugly head. The Western powers were leaving no stone unturned for the establishment of a Jewish state in Palestine. Muslims throughout the world were alarmed. Iqbal wrote in a letter, "Presently, the Palestinian problem is foremost in the minds of the Muslims. Personally, I am ready to court arrest on this issue, for it may affect both Islam and South Asia."